The contents of this video include training material and best practices from the Federal Transportation Administration and the National Transit Institute. Before we talk about wheelchair securement, we should talk about why it's important. It can be easy to feel some anxiety when you see a person in a wheelchair is waiting to board your bus. You want to make sure that you can secure that rider properly and may be concerned if this will put you down on time. The purpose of today's training is to ease some of that anxiety by providing more training on wheelchair securement. The more confident you are in your ability to secure a wheelchair, the quicker you can do it and the more confident you can be that the rider will be provided a safe and reliable ride. The Americans with Disabilities Act was put into law in 1990. It's a civil rights law, meaning it's about equal rights. It guarantees equal access to publicly funded services and that other businesses can't discriminate against a person with a disability. The purpose of the law was to erase barriers that prevented persons with a disability from living a fuller life. For us specifically, that means ensuring that our services are accessible, whether that be fixed route or bionic. Part of that means making sure our drivers are trained on how to properly provide assistance. It's more than just securing a wheelchair. We want riders to feel welcome on our buses and confident that they'll be treated with dignity and respect. Too often in society, disabilities are stigmatized and people are treated differently because of it. We want to make sure that CAN bus is not a place where people face discrimination, rude, or indifferent treatment. When a rider uses CAN bus or any public transit system, they have a few basic expectations that we should meet. First, being that they should have a safe and comfortable ride. Next, that the driver is knowledgeable about CAN bus routes in the service area. Third, that they will be welcomed onto our services. And finally, that the driver will provide appropriate assistance. We have different areas of training that are meant to accomplish all of these things. Much of our new hire training is meant to enhance your driving skills and teach you safety habits. You go through on-routes to help you learn more about each route in the CAN bus system. We welcome people on the bus by making eye contact, offering a smile, and either a nod or good morning when they board the bus. We provide assistance in many ways by providing route and system information, kneeling the bus at places where boarding may be difficult or upon request, remembering that the stop someone needs if they're unfamiliar with the route, and then finally the ramp and securing a wheelchair. Securing a wheelchair is one form of providing assistance to a rider with a disability. However, there are many ways that we provide assistance to riders with a disability, and it's important to remember that not all disabilities are physical and not all disabilities are immediately obvious. Some examples of this might include a person who has a visual disability that relies on the automated stop announcements to determine where to get off the bus, or a person with a visual disability who may not be able to see our stop signs well or use the transit mobile app, so they may rely on asking the driver questions. A person with a cognitive disability who has trouble reading route maps or schedules and needs more assistance from the driver to understand which route to take or even how to transfer to another route. Next, a person who has a physical disability that isn't obvious and needs the bus lowered when they board or exit. Remember with this that the front doors are the ADA boarding and exiting doors of the bus. If someone goes to use the front door to get off, we should not say anything and we should accommodate that desire. There could be many reasons that someone goes to use the front doors to exit, and riders don't owe us an explanation for using an accessibility feature of the bus. These are just a few examples of how we provide assistance to riders with a disability. Remember, our goal is to have an accommodating attitude with riders. We don't know everyone's background, what they are or not able to do. Having an accommodating attitude means looking for ways to accept what a rider desires rather than looking for ways to deny a rider their preferences, such as exiting off the front doors. It also means politely and thoroughly answering questions from riders, even if you think it's a question they should be able to figure out for themselves. We don't engage in these accommodating practices, then we may be unintentionally discriminating against someone with a disability or creating a barrier for them. This is not an exhaustive list of terms associated with disabilities, but when referring to a person with a disability, remember to put the person word first, as in person with a disability, not disabled person. They're a person first and should not be solely defined by their disability. Remember, we don't talk about each other strictly in terms of our own limitations. We're all people first. Some common words to avoid include affliction, victim of, or handicap. If you're unsure of someone's exact disability, person with a disability is just fine. If you know some information about the disability, the general phrase would be a person with a blank disability, where blank might be replaced with visual, mobility, hearing, or cognitive. People who have a disability are often treated in different areas of society. Using words with dignity is just one way that we can communicate our respect to all people and use welcoming and friendly language to those who wish to use our services. While securing a wheelchair can take a bit of time, it is a good opportunity to build rapport with the rider. Take the time to ask how their day is going, where they're headed. When we take the time to foster these positive interactions, we reassure riders that they are welcome on our services rather than our services being burdened by needing to assist them. Those who rely on our services for all or most of their transportation needs have had good experiences with our service and will typically become some of our favorite. It's also important that we emphasize safety throughout the process, taking special care in properly securing a wheelchair. Mobility devices. There's a variety of mobility devices someone may use to get around. All are welcome on our vehicles, and we must know how to securely tie down each of these different devices. The following slides will provide guidance and principles to secure these devices. Boarding a rider in a wheelchair. Remember, our riders deserve to be treated with sensitivity and respect. This is very easy to do. For example, smile and use a friendly tone, speak at the passenger's eye level if possible, let a passenger know what you're doing. For example, you can use this phrase when tightening and securing a wheelchair. I'm going to go ahead and secure the front of your chair as you secure the front. And then now I'm going to go to the back of your chair and just tighten these straps a little bit. If using tie downs that allow for manual tightening. Show extra sensitivity and explain what you're doing if the passenger wishes to use a lap belt. Securement 101. Ramp deployment and troubleshooting. Welcome them on the bus. This is a good opportunity to ask where they're going so you can remember this down the way. Ask the rider to vacate the seats with the securement stations. In a manual wheelchair, ask the rider to set the brakes once they're in position. Remember that the rear belts should be parallel to each other. They are meant to prevent the forward and backward motion of the chair. The front belts should flare out slightly. These are meant to prevent the side-to-side motion of the chair. Avoid using transport loops on the WC-19 transit option wheelchairs. If a loop on a wheelchair has a symbol, it is not meant for securement on a public transit bus. This loop is meant to transport the device from factory to the store for sale. These loops are not strong enough to withstand an accident. Some devices are designed specifically for use on public transportation and have certain attachment points. Look for the WC-19 compliance sticker to find these securement points. Service animals. All service animals are welcome on all CAN bus vehicles. Under the Department of Justice, the DOJ, service animals can only be dogs or miniature horses. However, Transit Administration, or the FTA, service animals can be any animal of any breed. We fall under the FTA, so anything goes on a CAN bus. Service animals are simply defined as an animal that's been trained to perform at least one task to assist somebody with a disability. Service animals do not have to be professionally trained or certified. A person who adopts a dog at a local shelter, for example, and trains them to perform a task that assists their disability counts as a service animal. This may be a person in a wheelchair who trains a dog to pick up items off the floor for them and bring them to them. If you're unsure if an animal is a service animal or not, you may ask, "Is this a service animal?" And then you must take the passenger's word for it. Remember, not all disabilities are evident, and different types of animals can be trained to perform different tasks. Service animals must remain under the control of their person when on the vehicle. They should not be moving freely throughout the bus. The animal, if it displays any form of aggression towards the driver, other animals on the bus or other riders, it may be removed. Walkers, strollers, and other large items. In general, large items are allowed on the CAN bus, so as long as the person has control over it and it won't fall onto somebody else on the bus. Large items cannot block the front or back doors. We do not require strollers be folded as long as they're not blocking the aisle or exit.